Good afternoon. This is Dominic with TheBackVlog. Recently, I finished On Cinema at the Cinema, Season 16, which came by a lot sooner than I thought it would have, because I feel like Season 15 just ended this year also. So we basically got 2 On Cinema seasons this year, which given the ending is a little bit concerning, but I'll get to that. I feel like I'm missing some context with the high network news articles that they put on there, so I'm gonna have to go read those. But the season starts out with Tim and Greg in like a hotel room, and they keep calling it the ESA, and I don't know what that means. And you know, there's a bit where Tim keeps juggling the VFA and the ESA, which does no favors for his blatant dyslexia. I think that's hilarious. But then they go to this like retirement home where Tim's potential father, Giamotto, is staying at. And, you know, there's like a whole history there. I really want to like brush up on Cinema again. And the fact that High Network actually has like an app now, I'm probably going to start like watching that on my lunch breaks at work one of these days. Like not catching up, but like rewatching, because it's been years. But you know, coming off of the On Cinema Oscar special, the last thing that I think happened, like that finale, was the movie house basically crumbling in on Tim Heidecker. And you know, there's like all these images of him like in the hospital, and he's like bald and everything. So I don't know how we got here now. I'm gonna have to like brush up on my On Cinema lore. I remember a little while ago, I read an interview with Tim Heidecker saying how he and like the makeup artist, you know, they kind of like do like a big gag every season. And the fact that like Tim was like bald in some of these like hospital images makes it all the more hilarious, because now he's like wearing this really bad wig. I keep referring to him as Tim Heidecker. His name is New Heidecker. I'm so sorry. But yeah, now we're at the ESA for at least like the first half of the season, because then the second half of the season, we find ourselves in a retirement home. And it's so uncomfortable. And the reason they're here is because the person that Tim claims is his dad, Giamotto, is here. And it's kind of despicable, because like Tim is definitely taking advantage of Giamotto's finances right now. We kind of lose Giamotto, and there's this incredibly long like funeral episode. It's like episode 9, and it's like really similar to the trial, where it's like, you know, it's presented in real ways, like in a very realistic way. And one of the strongest bits about On Cinema is that Tim and Greg are playing like basically these disgusting cartoon characters, but everybody around them is just real people. So like they're like these super like exaggerated and despicable people, but they're like putting them in these real situations, like the trial, for example, where it's like you have all these like outbursts and everything that thing is. But you know, all the people in the stand, whatever the I don't know what it's called, but they're just like regular people. And that's the same with this funeral. And it's so morbid and uncomfortable. And I don't know. I don't want to go to like play by play with all of the events that happened in the funeral, but I'm really interested to see where this show is going to be headed when you consider the remaining Amato family. But yeah, that kind of brings me to my concern, because the show ends with New Heidecker saying that this is the last season of On Cinema at the Cinema, because it's been going on for like 13 years now. I think it's like 13 years now. And I think it's a bit, but you can never tell with this show. And that's one of my favorite things about it. But like the reason that New Heidecker is saying that it's the end of On Cinema is because he wants to pursue he he wants to pursue an animated children's show that he and his dad conceptualized during an arts and crafts event at the retirement center. And I don't know if that's actually going to come to fruition, and if On Cinema is really going to be canceled. I think they did say they're still going to do the Oscar special next year, so we'll see what happens after that. And I think they're going on a farewell tour right now, or they will be going on a farewell tour, so I'm interested to see that too. I want to check that out. Hopefully I can actually make it to one of those things, but yeah. So I don't know if On Cinema is really coming to a close, or if it's just new Heidecker speaking out of his ass or whatever. It could just be that. His cartoon, The Doodle Dots, probably will go nowhere because every endeavor that he involves himself in usually goes nowhere, and that's the recurring bit with this show. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Another thing that makes me think a little bit is there's also this other plot thread with Greg and Giamotto where Greg acquired all these like movie props that nobody cares about, and Giamotto paid for them because they were supposed to be props for a movie that he was producing. And now like these props were in Greg's possession, but Giamotto was insistent on getting these props back. And Tim was adamant that he was like, I guarantee you're going to get these props back. You just have to just be patient. You'll get them back. And with the way that Giamotto dies, it's not of old age. I'm not gonna go and I'll go into specifics. There's this one prop from Ma and Pa Kettle, which is like a show from like the 1950s, and Giamotto, thinking it's food, opens it and eats it and dies of food poisoning, I guess. So now Tim is trying to place the blame on Greg, saying, you poisoned my dad by giving him this can of food. And Greg is like, no, it was a movie prop. So like that, they're like that back and forth. But Tim has been dropping hints that he knew Giamotto was going to pass before he did, and it kind of makes me a little bit suspicious because he's a very suspicious person, generally speaking. So I don't know if it was premeditated or what, but I guess time will tell. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, because On Cinema at the Cinema is incredibly niche, you should look into On Cinema at the Cinema. It's basically my One Piece, with this large expansive story with all this expansive lore and hundreds upon hundreds of hours of content. It's really maniacal. It's batshit insane how much background there is to get to the point where we're at now. And I don't know where we're gonna go from here. And that's what I love about this show. Please watch it. It's so good.